Welcome to the December Talkin' Blues. In this month's topic, we're going to get into playing all the wrong notes. Last month we talked about chromatic phrasing, and the basic rule that I gave you was always resolve. In other words, end your phrase on a chord tone and everything comes out nice and neat. And it almost doesn't matter how you got there as long as you hit that note right on time. Well, there's another side to the chromatic coin, and it's what happens if you don't hit that note on time. And I'm not talking about making mistakes, that's easy enough, but about deliberately aiming for notes that do not have that resolved, finished quality. We all hear them. You hear them all the time. And in fact, that little example I just played for you there, probably reminiscent of a spy movie or detective show. That's exactly what it's designed to be. And so what I'm doing in my melody is I'm deliberately playing notes that you would normally see in a book of scales, or how to play blues or whatever. Say, don't play that note. And you can play any note you like. Don't play that note. Well, I'm playing that note, and I'm making it stick. So here's the deal. When we're talking about chromatics, we're talking about the notes in between chord tones. The basic vocabulary, to recap, of improvisation, and in this case, let's say we're in a minor tonality. If I want to play minor licks, I know exactly where to go. I can start with the minor pentatonic scale. And I can phrase all day long within that scale, and it's going to sound pretty darn good and also pretty darn predictable. We've all heard that sound before. So what makes it sound special is not the notes, it's the way you play the notes and so forth. But if I want to start messing around with that sound, then what I'm looking for are the notes that don't belong to that scale. And in order to make those notes sound like I meant them, I have to set it up like I'm going to resolve, but then deliberately take a left turn. So what I mean is something like this. This is figure 1 in your column there. I could play a typical minor lick. In this case, I'll use the minor scale. Okay. Now, if I play a lick using the minor scale, here's sort of what you expect. 1, 2. All right, I started on the root, I worked my way up the scale, and then bang, that was my target, right? We talked about all those targets last week, or last month, and the target in this case was the root. So that was an utterly predictable melody. Not bad, but you kind of hear it coming. Okay? Now, in this type of playing, and by this type I mean what I'm going to call noir, which is the French word for black. Noir was a style that, I don't know the exact roots, to be honest with you, but it became popular in the 50s in the US TV shows, detective shows. Peter Gunn, famous example. Perry Mason, right? And then later on in the 60s, all the spy movies, James Bond, the Pink Panther, they all had this what we call noir quality, which means deliberately tilting toward the dark side and playing intervals that are kind of dissonant and uncomfortable because the subject matter of the film, or there's a noir fiction, the book, it's about the dark side of life. Things aren't working out so well. It's kind of tense. You're kind of looking over your shoulder. And the music reflects that. So we're talking about setting up what looks like a nice resolution and then suddenly making that left turn, and it's like you suddenly slipped a knife in. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got my inside vocabulary, which would be my chord tones or my minor pentatonic scale. And then I've got all the notes that are outside that realm. And I'll talk more about those in detail in a second, but I'm going to pick out some notes that are really off and see what the effect is. And this is kind of the example that I'm talking about of creating an expectation and then suddenly shifting, pulling the rug out, and it's like it makes you sit up and take notice, okay? So here's figure 1. Now I'm going to play them in order, and you'll hear in each case I kind of just twist it a little bit. I go to a note that's like, huh? And that's the point, is to be surprising, okay? 1, 3, 4, 1, 2. Right? Now in each case, and this isn't meant to really be played as a single melody, but each example starts the same way, and then it's suddenly like, what happened, right? So in the first case, went to the flatted second. Now that's about as wrong as a wrong note is going to get. But in the context of right, it kind of creates a vibe. And that's what noir is all about. It's all about the vibe. So the flatted second, yeah, it sounds kind of creepy, right? The flatted fifth, well, we're familiar with the flat five from the blues, but in this case, nailing it dead on, not sort of skipping by it, but hitting it dead on. That's noir. Major seventh, now there's another completely avoid note, right? But it has that kind of cool quality. It shimmers, it hangs on, and it kind of vibrates. So that's kind of the deal.